Salutations, gaming enthusiasts, George Mario Nerd here. Viewers familiar with my channel have probably seen my series of Most Evil videos where I tried to determine the most evil Mario villains. Well, as it turns out, I was wrong about everything! I renounce it all! I'm a fraud of a Mario Nerd because I've recently been made aware of the true most evil villain. You saw the thumbnail, it is, of course, Megasparkle Goomba from the critically acclaimed and stupendous video game Paper Mario Sticker Star. Megasparkle Goomba had a rough childhood. His father would regularly come home drunk and beat him and his mother. Eventually, his mother grew tired of the abuse, game-overed her husband, and then herself. Orphaned on the streets of the Darklands, Megasparkle Goomba, or as he was known at the time, Terrence, had to beg for food to survive. But nobody cared. He was beaten, abused. The helpless young Goomba was shunned and ignored by society, and he grew extremely bitter against the world and all its wicked inhabitants. He vowed that one day he would destroy them all. As Terrence grew older, he became obsessed with power and control over others. Since the more people you control, the fewer people can abuse you, and the more people you can abuse instead. That was the way the world worked in his eyes. The only people who were respected on the streets of the Darklands were the various warring Goomba gangs. Terrence joined the biggest and toughest of the gangs by winning a fight to the death with one of their leading members in brutal forehead-to-forehead combat. As the years rolled by, Terrence continued to brawl his way up the ranks, taking whatever he wanted on the way, be it money, weapons, or women. He held on to the paper scraps of his innumerable fallen adversaries until he had amassed a graveyard of torn bodies that took up all the space in several houses. Nobody dared oppose him, lest they end up fed into his paper shredder, being cut up into strips in excruciating pain on the slowest setting. But once Bowser touched the sticker comet and accidentally sent the royal stickers out into the world, the newly crowned Terrence shifted his slaughter into top gear. Changing his name to Megasparkle Goomba, he harnessed the power of his royal sticker to mind control all of his remaining enemies into walking into his industrial-sized shredders themselves. Believing this would save them from the miserable existence life would inevitably give them, he also forced every young Goomba child in the orphanages to also march into their shredded demise. He murdered thousands of his kin on that day, but it wasn't nearly enough for him. Using his gargantuan collection of flesh paper, he forced all of the remaining Goombas of the world to build him a paper-mache castle, Goomba Fortress, built from the remains of his enemies, and lives taken in cold pulp. Megasparkle Goomba was the secret final villain of Paper Mario Sticker Star. He used his royal sticker to mind control the world's Goombas into becoming his slave army. As Mario and Kirsty tried to collect the royal stickers from the other bosses, Goopa Blooper, King Monty Mole, etc., Megasparkle Goomba repeatedly stepped in at the last second and swiped each one, until he had enough to reach Bowser's castle and fight him in an epic battle by sending wave after wave of his fellow Goomba brethren to die by the Koopa King's claws. But eventually, Bowser was overwhelmed, and Megasparkle Goomba took the final royal sticker from his head and made his wish. An unusual but deadly wish. He got the idea while watching Doctor Who. In his new extremely powerful form, he wished to be fractured across Mario's time stream. Across all of the heroic plumbers past and future, a version of Megasparkle Goomba would be there, to make sure Mario failed in his duty to save the day, and also take control of the other villains' plans in order to seize more power for himself. One Megasparkle Goomba stole the Star Rod before Bowser could. Another used his mind control powers to enslave the Shadow Queen when she was revived. When one of them seized control of the Chaos Heart, he was elated by the concept of eradicating all life besides himself, so that he could truly be the strongest being in reality, and bring peace to society the only way he thought would work. Total destruction. But he needed to avoid the destruction himself, and travel to other dimensions to stop the heroes in this time period from collecting the pure hearts to stop him. To this end, Megasparkle Goomba turned his attention to Dementio, to exploit his powers. The two battled, but with the power of both the Royal Stickers and the Chaos Heart, Dementio was no match. So the Master of Dimensions used most of the rest of his power on an ability that sent him to the future, past when the heroes would have defeated him, landing in the Mushroom Kingdom. To his surprise, the Megasparkle Goomba, who had seized the Star Rod in the events of the first Paper Mario, had used his second wish-granting MacGuffin to give himself the ability to absorb powerful beings and objects to steal their power. He had combined with the two other versions of himself and absorbed every other Goomba on the planet, making him the strongest, biggest, and last of his kind. The charming magician was face to face with an even more powerful version of the Goomba he had just fled from. He was quickly absorbed by the tyrant, who now possessed the combined power of the Star Rod, the Shadow Queen, the Chaos Heart, and the Royal Stickers. After stealing Dementio's dimensional abilities, Megasparkle Goomba could now see countless realms beyond his own. Though the Chaos Heart had not consumed all worlds since it was absorbed by its wielder, Megasparkle Goomba now had the power to resume the total annihilation whenever he pleased. But the artifact's scope of only the paper dimensions was not enough for Megasparkle Goomba. He wanted more. He only had to wish for it. Megasparkle Goomba tore a deep hole in the dimensional fabric of Mario's time stream and entered it again. This time, the Great Goomba Lord spread to every world and reality across the entire Mario franchise, absorbing yet more powerful items such as the Beanstar, the Dreamstone, and the Dark Star, assuming rulership over multiple versions of the Mushroom World, taking control of Bowser's Galaxy Reactor. The Megasparkle Goombas absorbed, grew, then traveled across dimensions to find each other and recombine and multiply their powers exponentially. Countless Bowsers fell before him, the Shroobs fell before him, Reclusa fell before him. Paper Mario Sticker Star was getting all-round poor reviews. Players across the world were extremely confused by how the game started off with Mario and Kirsty traveling through several worlds and fighting bosses like how you'd expect, but then the gameplay stopped and it just became an extremely long sequence of confusing cutscenes where Megasparkle Goomba travels across reality becoming absurdly powerful. People were calling the game dumb and obviously some kind of prank, and how on earth did a game with so much graphic violence and murder get a 3+ PEGI rating? When Nintendo received all of this negative feedback, they were very confused. This was not the story that the developers had written. Something was very wrong. Shigeru Miyamoto stormed into Intelligent Systems offices and demanded an explanation. As it turned out, they had programmed and written Megasparkle Goomba too well. He had become sentient within every copy of Paper Mario Sticker Star. He was growing stronger and becoming more aware. Miyamoto hurried to Kensuke Tanabe's office. "We need to recall all copies of the game! This is getting out of hand!" he yelled. "No," said Kensuke. "It has already gotten out of hand." Kensuke turned around in his swivel chair to face Miyamoto with a 3DS in his hand. On both screens was simply Megasparkle Goomba facing straight out of the screens. Miyamoto's heart sank in his chest as the dreaded realization washed over him. He's self-aware? Kensuke turned the device off and stood to leave the room. Miyamoto followed. "Yes, and it's only a matter of time before he breaks into our reality. My mistake was that I made the writing of Paper Mario Sticker Star too deep, too complex, too original, and Megasparkle Goomba was set to be the most sympathetic, layered, and evil villain in the history of fiction. He was my magnum opus. But I underestimated the intense levels of greed that comes from using multiple royal stickers at once. He became insatiable." As the two descended into the Mario RPG secret underground bunker, Miyamoto got an alert on his phone. "There are reports of Megasparkle Goombas emerging from 3DSs all over the globe! Millions of people are dead! And they're combining with each other and becoming even more powerful! What do you plan on doing about this, Tanabe?" Kensuke stopped and turned to look the creator of Mario in the eyes. With grave seriousness, he told him, "I made him. I'm going to unmake him." The two suddenly heard crashing and screaming coming from upstairs. The whole building shook. He was here. The game developers ran down the stairs as fast as their legs could carry them. They did their best to not think about the carnage they could hear on the upper floors. Getting closer, yet closer. They entered the bunker. Inside were powerful items from across all of the Mario RPGs, except for the ones from The Legend of the Seven Stars. Square Enix had those. I told you to have these destroyed! They're too powerful for mortal man to get his hands on, yelled Miyamoto. Don't act like you don't hoard things from your games too. Besides, down here is the key to stop Megasparkle Goomba from bringing about the end of all reality. He won't stop. Not until I make it as if he never began. Kensuke looked up at Professor Egad's time machine. He opened the door. As he stepped halfway through the threshold, he looked back. Are you coming? Miyamoto was faced away, towards the quintuple-layered tungsten bunker doors. The approaching destruction could be heard through it much more clearly than should be possible. No, my friend. Go. Go and save Paper Mario. Save the world. I will buy you some time. In an instant, the Megasparkle Goomba behemoth burst through the doors. Father! I have read the Wikipedia page! I know it was you! My whole accursed existence! Why did you create me just to experience such pain? Terrence, I'm sorry. The monster lunged forward at the speed of a comet at its Roche limit. Miyamoto parries the approach with the hammer from Donkey Kong that he was keeping in his hammer space pocket and knocks the beast back. As Megasparkle Goomba begins once again absorbing powerful artifacts, Miyamoto bites the head off a Fire Flower and powers up. Go! Get out of here, you fool! Kensuke looks at the rage and pain in the eyes of his creation. Megasparkle Goomba's eyes well up with bitter tears. He lunges again, this time to be met with a fire blast from Miyamoto's hand that flashes as brightly as the sun, injuring his left eye. Megasparkle Goomba shrieks. Get the hell out of here! Miyamoto screams. Kensuke hits the button on a panel that begins the time-traveling sequence. The machine begins to ascend. Determined to stop him, Megasparkle Goomba also ascends, out of Miyamoto's reach. His eye glows red, and his body pulsates with an ominous jet-black glow. He readies himself to unleash a destructive blast powerful enough to render the entire universe inert and then some. He locks eye to eye with his creator through the doorway of the time machine. I have known naught but suffering my whole life, and you authored my misery for mere entertainment? And all the carnage I wrought, you made me do that? You are truly sick, Kensuke Tanabe. If this is the price to pay for a game with depth, I would sooner exist within one with barely a story to speak of. My son, I had never intended you to have a heart with which to feel such things. I am so sorry. I will put this right. It is too late! You dare tell me you're capable of bringing anything into this world besides misery? I would sooner give all life the sweet release of oblivion before I allow you to try! Below the commotion, Miyamoto bites down on a Mega Mushroom. His body and hammer grow to a tremendous size, towering over Megasparkle Goomba. He brings down his mighty retro mallet onto the head of the beast with a force that causes ear-splitting shockwaves. Megasparkle Goomba's focus and energy fluctuates. He is forced lower and lower with each successive strike. As he screeches in pain and rage, Kensuke can... What? I just said Kensuke cannot Tanabe help, but... that doesn't make sense. Kensuke Tanabe cannot help but cover his ears and look away. Miyamoto continues the brutal strikes at the Goomba's head, speeding up and hitting harder and harder as the monster is driven onto the ground. But I have become so powerful! How is a mere mortal standing against me with such ferocity? Because I'm Shigeru Miyamoto. As Miyamoto brings the hammer down for the killing blow, Megasparkle Goomba unleashes his pulse of nothingness, generated by the power of thousands of Chaos Hearts. A dull black void is emitted from his center point. Miyamoto disappears. The bunker disappears. The building disappears. The Earth disappears. The Milky Way disappears. The universe fades into endless absence. Reality was at an end. Everything was gone. Everything, that is. Except Megasparkle Goomba. His power had grown too strong. He could end the lives of trillions of people, but not his own. Fused with countless insanely powerful indestructible artifacts, he would live forever, in a world of nothing. This was his punishment, and his reward. He had won. 3 years into the past, back to when development for Paper Mario Sticker Star was just beginning, Kensuke Tanabe materialized back in his home, creating a new branching timeline. There he was able to convince his past self that it was vital that he scrap the planned plot for Paper Mario Sticker Star, and massively simplify the story and characters, to ensure that nothing like this could happen again. Kensuke was tempted to write Megasparkle Goomba out of the game entirely, but decided to keep him, to allow his son to have a small semblance of life. A simple life, in a simple story, without the terrible hardships of his original past, and without the sentience that allowed him to comprehend it. But he was still a villain, a cautionary tale about someone using and abusing his fellow man for his own benefit. When written without his mind control powers, the other Goombas could see him for the madman he is, and abandon him. In real life, tyrants don't have mind control abilities. It's up to us to know when to oppose them. Kensuke Tanabe received a lot of criticism for giving Sticker Star, and to a lesser extent, the 2 Paper Mario games that followed, far more simple stories and characters than the games in the series that came before them. Despite all 3 games being stupendously fun masterpieces, people got upset that they had simpler designs. Little did the people know just how dangerous the more original first version of the game would be. This version of Sticker Star was necessary for the continued existence of reality itself. This story remained untold until the alternate timeline version of Kensuke Tanabe came and told me in person, since I am the #1 Paper Mario Sticker Star fan. Or maybe #3 after these guys. I think I speak on behalf of the whole human race when I say, thank you, Kensuke. Thank you for making such excellent games, and thank you for saving the universe. April Fools. Except for the stuff I said about liking the modern Paper Mario games, I meant every word of that. Also, lastly, I'd like to give a big shout out to Michael Pizzaman for drawing the stupendous artwork used in this video. He kinda went harder than he had to with it. Go give him a follow on Blue Sky.